Welcome to the podcast.
歡迎收聽
요거서 팟캐스트에
به پادکست ما خوش آمد.
مقیم با این پادکست 欢迎来到我们的播客
Benvenuti sul podcast.
Willkommen beim Podcast.
日本から konnichiwa
Buongiorno
你
dall'Italia.
好嚟自香港
Hello from Europe.
سلام از ایران.
Hallo aus Deutschland.
Shalom Israel
Hello, world culture enthusiasts. We're here with another episode of Crossing Cultures, a podcast where guests from all over the world talk about subtle, surprising, intriguing, and bizarre cultural differences in everyday life. We are here again at our home away from home in dizplay soundlab Lisbon, where each one of our guests is on some kind of vacation away from their home. And we have come together here in a recording studio in Lisbon to hear about a very magical subject, because today we're going to talk about superstitions. So first of all, I'm going to let my guests introduce themselves.
Yeah, hi, I'm Gaurav Kumar. I'm originally from India. I came to Lisbon in 2014 as a student, and I just fell in love with the city, so I decided to start working after my graduation, and I've been living here since almost 5 years, so I really love Portugal.
And what part of India are you from?
I'm from Hyderabad. It's from the south. Yeah, it's a pretty big city, a population of more than 10 million people. Yeah,
10 million
yeah,
people?
only in my city.
Only in
so,
your city.
Yeah, welcome to India.
All right.
I'm Mohammad. I'm from Morocco. I'm on vacation. I've been in Lisbon for like 3 days so far. I'm staying here like for a couple of days, and it's been great so far. Yeah, it's great.
My name is Matt. I'm from the United States, more specifically Rochester, New York, and a very similar situation. I've been in Lisbon. This is my third day, and I am just doing a 3.5-week tour around Europe.
So for those of you who've listened to other episodes, you might remember that Mohammad and Matt are second-time guests. You're the first second-time guests of the podcast because you were so good the last times. I felt like I have to drag you into another one.
I tried.
And also because we traveled together, we were staying at the same hostel, and we had conversations about superstitions, and I know that you have a lot of stories and interesting things to say. So let's just dive right in. What is the weirdest superstition that you can think of in India?
Okay, well, the weirdest one for me would be I don't know if you heard about this, but when someone is leaving the house, and if another person sneezes before this person is leaving the house, then it's a superstition that you have to not immediately leave the house, but sit for 5 minutes and only then leave, or else something bad is going to happen to you.
So let's say you're in a hurry.
Yeah, let's
and
say
you need to go to work.
Let's say you're a doctor and you have an emergency surgery that's going to happen, but when you're leaving the house, your wife sneezes, so you have to sit for 5 minutes, at least 5 minutes. It's not like it's not set in stone the time, but it's known that you have to sit for a while, and then you have to leave. It sounds really, really ridiculous, but growing up as a kid, like I was used to seeing people do this, so I also used to do it as a kid, but now I feel like it's so stupid.
But it's still a part of the culture.
Yeah. For example, this morning I sneezed. I myself sneezed when I was going to work, and I just thought about it on the way, and I was just laughing. Like I used to sit back like when I was a kid, but not anymore. So it's just funny, and like it's ridiculous, but it is what it is.
All right.
Yeah.
How about Morocco?
Yeah, there's so many, but the most, or as you said, the weirdest ones are like there are two. You can't leave, for example, like an upside down sandal, for example, if like it's on the floor and it's turned upside down, you can't leave it that way.
Oh.
Yeah.
You have to flip it back.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I still do it sometimes. It doesn't. I don't know. Yeah. So there's that, and the second one is you can't like boil like really boiled hot water like in a toilet or something. Yeah, you can't do that.
Oh.
A lot of people wouldn't do that. For example, if you're like pouring like hot water like in a toilet or something like in the sink, you have like to open the tap and allow like cold water to go simultaneously, so it wouldn't be that hot, for example. So yeah, that's like the weirdest thing. And I always joke about it with my family or something with friends, but yeah, a lot of people do that. Like they would like turn on the tap, allowing like the cold water, and then they would pour the hot water.
That is super interesting.
We might talk about it
Yeah,
later,
yeah.
but yeah.
I mean, like in the United States, I think a lot of the same superstitions that Europeans have that that we have very similar. We actually have with sports. There's a lot of superstitions with sports, especially in baseball. Baseball is absolutely loaded with different types of superstitions that I don't even know if they have basis in anything, but they just so happen to just become the culture of the sport, and it's just very weird.
Give us an example.
Well, there are certain like baseball players that if they get on a very hot streak, that they will that they may like keep the same pair of socks on and not wash them or anything like that, because it's believed that this contributed to their success, so we can't let this go.
Upset the streak, the lucky strike.
Yeah, and there's also like, and not even just talking about baseball. There's especially there's a big gambling culture in the United States, and especially if you go to a casino, you are told to, if you're on a hot streak, you keep going, and that it's like it's random. It's all random, and there's nothing to justify the fact that you would keep going or you'd stop, or if there was any difference. But it's the belief that you need to keep going because you're going to, I don't know, upset some type of cosmic system or something.
I mean, in the movies, they always let like a beautiful woman blow on the dice.
Yes.
That's supposed to load them with good fortune.
I think sometimes that happens with superstitions. Like you know that it's sometimes it sounds ridiculous, but at the back of your mind you have this thing that, okay, for example, the sneezing thing that I was saying, it wouldn't hurt if I just sat for another 5 minutes, so I can go on my day with peace with nothing in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
So there's always a little bit of thing bothering you in the back of your mind if you don't go ahead with the superstition.
It's like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Like if you leave the house thinking that, oh my God, something bad's gonna happen, you're gonna be like a little bit clumsier and a little bit more like stressed, and maybe that'll interfere with your work or with your interactions.
Exactly.
Yeah, and there's a story about Michael Jordan that he never, like, once he became a professional basketball player, he kept playing with the same pair of underwear every game. I mean, I hope he washed them between the games, but he kept...
I feel for his teammates.
I would say in Israel, probably the weirdest thing I can think of is that you never pass any sharp object from one person to the next. You would, like, not a knife or scissors, you would have to put them down on the table or a shelf or even like a floor, and then the other person would pick it up. Otherwise, you might fight with that person.
Wow.
It's a very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Learning a lot today already.
What about like lucky charms or things like lockets or things that people carry with them to protect themselves or to, I don't know.
And I maybe some of you can chime in, because I know we were having this discussion about the evil eye and the fact that people can pass on bad luck or evil spirits through their gaze, and so people will wear things around their neck like a horn or an eye that's supposed to protect them from evil spirits. And my mom, to this day, she still wears, because she's Italian, she still wears a horn because she believes that my father's new wife is trying to send her bad spirits, so she wears this in protection of that.
Does it matter what kind of horn? Is it specific?
I think it's when you talk about a horn, like usually it's either a horn or a conch shell. Mm-hmm. And it's believed that it doesn't. I don't think it has to be a specific type of like animal horn, but it just has to have that shape of a horn.
Okay. I see.
And if it's a conch shell, it has to be not the shell side. It has to be the side that has the opening. Because there's a lot of things that has to do with like the male and female reproductive organs, and that's supposed to be for some reason that's supposed to ward off evil spirits, and I don't know why, but once again, these are just weird things.
All right.
Yeah, well, in India, religion it's a huge thing, and with that comes a lot of superstitions. When it comes to lucky charms, I know I've seen people wearing rings for all their 5 fingers. Supposed to bring them, like every different ring signifies something different.
Okay.
You know, one brings them luck, one brings them, probably a lot of money, one brings them happiness. So it's just different beliefs. In India, it's such a huge and diverse country, and the process of thought it varies from each state to every state is so different. The language we speak, the clothes we wear, so the beliefs we have, it's such a diverse country, and I know only a little bit of these superstitions and that are existing in my state, whereas like there are so many other states, like so it might people in the north might be having completely different superstitions. I know they also wear a lot of bracelets or threads to their hands. That even things like that mean something to them, that brings luck. So.
And I heard in India there's a lot of significance to the color of the clothes that you wear.
Yeah, like usually for functions, black is supposed to be. It's considered to be not very auspicious. People tend to wear white instead of black. White is it's more cool, and it signifies peace. For like weddings and stuff. The groom is like dressed in white, and at least in the Hinduism, in the religion. But yeah, I suppose the different colors also mean different things to people.
All right. In Morocco, do people
I
carry?
think the hand might be like universal or something. We call it Khmisa, which means like 5, something like so 5 fingers or something. Yeah. It used to be like very common in the past, not anymore. It used to be like on doors, every door it has like a Hamisa, but it's not really that common right now. You don't see it much around. But people would have like a copy of the Quran, for example, in every house. So that's like it's not really necessary to be read, but you just like can find it like in the living room or something. Okay, and for example, you can find as well like some people would carry like a small booklet with like certain verses from the Quran. Okay, so you can see that with other people. For example, there's as you say, with the bracelet. I don't know, with newly born babies. They wear like bracelets for a certain time, for a certain period of time.
The babies, they put the bracelets on the babies.
Exactly. Yeah.
They do.
Okay.
Yeah.
A specific type, or just
no, it's just like a bracelet. It can be like silver or whatever. But like they all like little babies. If you pay attention, you can see that they have like bracelets.
Yeah.
So you can see a lot of that, and also like you can go for like Moroccan houses. You can see like portraits or something like that with certain verses from the Quran again. So yeah.
I mean, the Khmisa in Israel, we call it Khamsa.
Yeah,
again,
it's
it's from Arabic.
Yeah,
it's like an image of a hand with like 2 thumbs.
Exactly, with the
thumb
eye
of
in
each,
the
and an
the
eye.
palm.
Yeah, an eye.
Yeah.
That is very popular. Every house has it. Every business. If you walk into every kiosk or tiny little restaurant, you see it on the wall. People gift it to each other.
Yeah.
And even we say Khamsa, 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 which is like like to scare away the evil spirits. Yeah.
Sometimes even if you compliment someone like you're great or this or that, you will say Khmsa, Khmsa.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a lot of like fear that if you say something good or if you say something very positive, the evil spirits will hear you, and then you have to do something to like deflect. Yeah.
We even have like we have like a word for, we call it tqoes. Tqoes, yeah, that's a word for it. Yeah, so a lot of people believe like in the evil eyes. So,
Yeah, or
It's a
if
thing.
you say something in Israel, you'd say tfu tfu tfu. Like tfu tfu is you don't want to spit, but you want to make the sound of a spit
Yeah.
because the spit protects you against the evil eye. So if someone says, I don't know, I'm going into surgery tomorrow, and tfu tfu tfu.
No,
Just
it's really common. A lot of people believe in it, even if they're like educated and stuff.
Yeah.
They still believe in the power of the eye or something.
Yeah, it crosses any kind of
But-
socioeconomic denomination. Yeah.
Exactly.
But not even that. I took a course in college about magic, sorcery, and witchcraft, and it's a very ubiquitous belief. But it's also one of those things where it's you're always taught, especially in the United States, never to stare at somebody.
Mm-hmm.
You never stare or you never point at somebody.
Yeah.
That like this is seen as being very rude if you point to somebody. And the one thing that it's always interesting is like if you stare like at like a dog. I mean, even a dog like understands that it's a sign of aggression, and so it's really interesting that just like a gesture or just staring, it can cause people to be very, very uncomfortable, and a lot of times it's done in a way that is not seen as being very rational. So it's very interesting, and I think it just becomes inscribed in your culture, and it's hard to escape that.
Well, I'll tell you something that's probably going to take the cake here. But a few years ago, there was like this thing in the Israeli military where combat soldiers would put like a necklace, and on the edge of the necklace there would be a tiny little flask or a tiny little glass bottle, maybe like 2 or 3 centimeters long, with their, I'm going to be very careful about my wording here, with their girlfriend or wife's feminine fluids.
Oh.
And that was, at some point, people maybe thought that it was supposed to protect them in combat. But then it became, I think, like a trend just to show off that you have a girlfriend, even though you come home once a month and there's someone waiting for you. And you would see like people walking around with those ridiculous lockets, and then like the military generals, they said, okay, stop it, nobody's going on with feminine fluids in their.
That does kind of take the cake right there. I don't even know how to even describe that.
How about like protecting the house? Because usually, there's a lot of superstitions regarding how to christen the house, things like that. Like in Judaism, that you put something called a mezuzah, which is like a tiny little scroll. Mezuzah. In every Jewish house, there's supposed to be a scroll. Yeah. And a funny thing about the mezuzahs is that they didn't know whether to put it. Some people said that you should put it vertically. And then some people said that you should put it horizontally.
Okay.
And so now they just put it diagonally because you don't want to upset anyone. So everybody puts it diagonally for some reason. Yeah. And you told me that in India there's a different way to protect the house against evil spirits.
Yeah, at least especially during the housewarming ceremony, they put like a huge picture in the entrance. Above the main door, they put a huge picture of a very, very scary monster. And you have to Google this later because it's really funny. I was showing it to some colleagues like last week or two. So that monster, it's supposed to keep away all the evil spirits, and when people come for a housewarming, when the guests come for a housewarming ceremony, they're all praising the house. So everyone's praising the house. Oh, such a nice house, this, that, good rooms, everything. So sometimes the belief is that for the owners, the belief is that too much praise also can work against you. So even they think from all directions, and they actually perform even pujas, which we call pujas or rituals that keep away all these evil spirits. And there's a priest that sits with the owners of the new house, and they have to perform all these rituals in order to ensure that everything in the house going forward brings them a lot of money, luck, and keeps away all the evil spirits.
Is it a specific monster that you're referring to,
No,
or just any kind of scary face?
I believe any scary face. Like I don't know the depths of it. Like if it has a deeper meaning. But growing up as a kid, yeah, I always used to look at that, and when we used to go for these ceremonies and like show it to my mom and laugh, but they just put like something scary, a scary face. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's a funny thing because we have like basically the same thing, especially with like a new house. You need to bring like what we call tlaba. So it's like people who come to the house and start like reciting the Quran for like an hour or something.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's really important to do that. Or not everyone does it, but it's really important to do it, especially as I said, like a new house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So a lot of people do that. As I mentioned earlier, you can have like a copy of the Quran in every house. Or you can have like certain verses of the Quran like hung on the wall, and this is not really common now. But there used to be like a Khmisa on every door, but it's not really common right now. And some people again like they play the Quran like in the morning or something like that. So those are some of the ways like to to ward against evil.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, growing up Roman Catholic, it was very typical to, if you have a housewarming party, to have a priest bless the house and things like that. But actually, I was just thinking about this, is that it's very typical that you have a welcome mat on front of your house that says welcome. And it's and you know, just thinking about this is every house has this in the United States, and it's one of those things that when I bought my house, I knew I had to buy one. And this is how superstitions go, is I never thought why. I just said, okay, I have to go to a store and buy a welcome mat, because if I don't have one there, I guess people are going to be offended or come up to my house and think like I'm not welcoming them.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things that you don't ever think about because it's so intertwined in your culture, but it really is always there.
What about black cats? I don't know why they have like a bad rap.
I think they're significant throughout the world. Mostly. Yeah, it's the same belief. So if you're going out, you're driving and a black cat crosses by, at least in India the belief is that you stop and let someone else go by, so that person gets all the bad luck and you're saved. So basically they're thinking about themselves. But it is that, yeah. So you escape all the bad vibes and the
by passing it on to someone else.
You just wait until the next person goes by. Hopefully he didn't see the cat, so he'll just go. Or else if everyone sees a cat, it's a huge traffic jam.
Oh really?
So you just wait until someone else goes by and then you slide over.
Same thing?
Yeah, it's just it doesn't go to the same extreme as that, but it is seen as very bad luck if a black cat walks in front of where you're walking. And it's just, I don't know if I'm sure some people in the United States probably have something that they do when a black cat walks in front of them so that they don't continue to have bad luck. I don't know that. So I'm sure a black cat has walked in front of me before, and I guess I might still be in that session of bad luck. But it's definitely existed.
Especially when you're going for, example, an interview or something important, and something like that happens, it weighs on your mind a lot.
Yeah. I mean, in Israel, you'd probably either spit. I mean, that's a little uncouth, but to stare at it, or you just do the sound like to like scare or pretend to spit.
Yeah, for example, in Morocco, it's not like a superstition, but not like in Morocco, but in Islam, you can't have a dog inside your house.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
you can't have like there's like a hadith, like a saying from the Prophet
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
that forbids having like dogs, except like for protection or like
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
if you're blind or something and you
Yeah.
need it. But just like to have it like as a pet, it's completely forbidden. And there's like a lot of people who don't have dogs because of that. Can you imagine? Yeah.
I didn't know that, but I heard that on the other hand, there's a lot of respect for cats.
Because the Prophet used to like cats,
Ah.
supposedly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, you can have cats but dogs that are like completely forbidden. If you
People
have-
are like split. You're either a cat person or a dog person. So
No, yeah, so you can't have a dog inside the house. There's like they say like if you have a dog, all the angels go out of the house.
Really?
Yeah.
You guys know the Hebrew word for dog?
No.
You probably know.
I don't recall.
Well,
Really.
the word is kelev.
Like Arabic, kelb.
Yeah, kelb.
Kelb, okay.
So kelev, if you ever seen the movie Lucky Number 11,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
they say kelev, kelev.
Yeah.
Kelev, and the word comes from lev means heart, and kelev is all heart because the dog is
Yeah.
all he's all love and heart. That's the
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty much funny because like dogs are really loyal and stuff, and they're really
Yeah.
good,
Yeah.
nice to have around. But a lot of people can't have dogs because of that.
interesting. Interesting. And two other things that always get like bad rap, I think, are salt. There's always an issue with salt
Salt.
and mirrors.
Yeah.
Or
Oh,
like-
broken mirrors.
Yeah,
Something
broken
like
mirrors.
that.
This
So-
is 7 years bad luck.
Yeah,
7
exactly.
years.
Yeah. That's true. I heard about that too.
And salt, like if you spill the salt, then you have to take it and then toss it over your left
It has to be
shoulder.
left shoulder,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there's that movie
Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber where he spills the salt and then he
Throws the whole salt shaker over and hits somebody in the head.
and also in Israel, like some people even say melech mayim, which means like salt and water, as a protection against evil spirits. They just say melech mayim, like salt water, salt water, salt water. Again,
Supposedly because they don't like salt, the evil spirits.
The
or
evil spirits,
ghosts
yeah.
And stuff.
I-
There's something in Morocco I don't recall really, but yeah, there's definitely something like that. As if like they don't like salt or something.
yeah,
Isn't it in Germany or somewhere where if you say cheers and you don't look into the eyes, it's like a lot of years of bad luck?
well, in Israel, if you don't look at
If you do a toast and you don't look into the person's eyes, it's
in Israel,
Yeah.
if you cheer someone and you don't look into his eyes,
Yeah.
you're both gonna have bad sex.
that's
not,
the thing. Bad
not
sex,
necessarily with each other, but
Just
each
bad
one of you
sex.
is gonna have bad sex.
Yeah.
That's the.
I think it was also in some of the European countries. That one of my friends.
a lot of the superstitions that I know are maritime based or like Navy based, because the Navy has a lot of all the navies have the same kind of superstitions.
Yeah.
So people they never whistle. They're not supposed to whistle when you're on a boat. If you whistle on a boat, you infure the wrath of Poseidon, and the sea will get angry. I think in the U.S. probably like in the UK, you have to refer to ships and vessels in the feminine. You have to
Yep.
say she.
Yeah.
And it's
Oh,
also
that's the thing.
it's bad luck to not name your boat.
Yeah.
As you go, it has to have a name because that's supposed to give it, I guess, sense of good luck when you do it. And also, when you do a maiden voyage, you're also supposed to break a glass over the boat
Yeah.
as it goes out.
And I mean, I don't know, like proper sailmen have like a lot to do with tattoos. Like so you have to get a certain. There used to be. I mean, obviously today it's not that common, but there used to be a very famous tattoo. If you're a sailor, you would get a pig on one ankle or one foot, and a chicken on another
Yeah.
ankle or foot, and that's supposed to save you from drowning.
Oh.
And I heard that it is because they used to transport livestock in wooden cages, and when ships would capsize, the animals would stay afloat because the cages were made of wood.
Right.
The sailors deduced that since the animals survive in their wooden cages, having an animal tattooed on your foot would save you from drowning. That's
Okay.
It's kind of common.
And another thing that is very common in superstitions, as far as I know, are superstitions that have to do with money. Like if you drop your wallet.
Yeah.
Do you have that in India?
Actually, we have something similar when you're talking about money. So when we go to weddings and when we give presents, suppose you're giving 1,000 rupees. It's okay. You're not. The superstition is that the amount you're giving shouldn't end in a zero. So if you're giving 1,000, they add 1 more rupee. So you're giving 1,001 rupees as a gift. So because if it ends in a zero, the belief is that it'll be the end of it'll be the end of their marriage or it's not good. So as a token of good luck, they add 1 more rupee. Because it has to be an odd number, not an even number. Yeah, so for some reason, stuff like that. And we do that. Like I attended a wedding like last year a couple of years ago in India, and I gave because I've been brought up like that. So
an odd number.
An odd number, yeah. The amount shouldn't end in a zero.
In Israel, it's very common in weddings to give the number 18 is considered a very lucky number.
Yeah.
So you gift someone in multiplications of 18, so like 180 shekel or 1,800 shekel or something like that, because those two letters, those two numbers, they form the word chai, which means life or alive. So that is considered like a good number.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, you would see they carry like they have a necklace with the word chai, which means life, but it also means 18 because that is like a good luck number.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of preoccupation with lucky numbers.
Yeah. I was saying, like, especially, and I know that this is for like a lot of cultures, Triskaidekaphobia, which is the fear of the number 13. And it's very common, and I can't think of anywhere where this does not exist, especially in the United States, where you don't have a 13th floor. So your 13th floor is number 14, or something like that, because there is just a fear of something. Yeah, just, and I know there was a movie. I think it was called The 13th Floor with like John Cusack, and it was just basically a thriller movie, and don't quote me on this because I don't remember the movie, but it was just based upon the fact that this was on the 13th floor and bad stuff happened on the 13th floor.
I remember a movie. I think it might be a different movie, but also with John Cusack, where it's called 1408.
Maybe that's what.
Yeah,
maybe then I'm wrong.
He like stays in a hotel room. He's like a journalist that investigates haunted hotel rooms, and that room is haunted because the number 1408 adds up to 13, and then he spends a night in that room, and it's very scary.
That's what it is. Yeah. But we also have the fear of Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Like everything bad happens on Friday the 13th, and even it can be even worse if it's a full moon on Friday the 13th, because the full moon is seen as being very auspicious or not very bad luck, and doubling that with like Friday the 13th is seen as just being like you just don't do stuff on that
I wonder
day.
how many years does Friday the 13th fall on a full moon?
I have no idea.
We'll have to Google it.
Star Wars.
Probably not often.
All right. And another thing that I think is always prone to superstitions are everything that have to do with marriage, either during a wedding or right after the wedding, or even everything like preceding the wedding. For example, in Israel, it's not as common, but like some single women wouldn't sit at the corner of a table because sitting at the corner of a table would mean that you don't get married for the next 7 years. You would stay single. So like women in their mid-20s would avoid. It's very stereotypical and probably happens very rarely. But there used to be like a beer commercial, and they kind of made fun of it, where you see like a bunch of women walk into a bar and there's like just the exact number of seats as they are, and one of them is in the corner. So they like start fighting each other to avoid sitting in the corner. Or I think in the U.S. you're not supposed to see.
Yeah, it's very, very bad luck to for the groom to see the bride in her wedding dress before she has walked down the aisle. And I remember not even, I wasn't getting married, but I was staying in the house with the bride who was just getting dressed, and I was upstairs, and I was told, you cannot come down, you cannot look out the window until she is gone. And I was like, well, what difference does it make? I'm not marrying her. But it was told that this is a really, really bad luck, or a really bad sign when you're looking at the bride before she's getting married until she's walked down the aisle.
And what about during the wedding? Anything specific?
There's especially a part of the wedding that, and I don't know why exactly this happens. There's one part where it says, if there's anybody that has a reason of why these two people can't get married, please say it now.
Yeah.
But I don't know when anybody would say, no, please, no, I have a problem I need to address before you guys. And it's the last thing right before they say, you may kiss the bride. And that's the symbol that the marriage has begun. But it never makes sense.
Nobody said.
Well, because, I mean, I'm sure at some point somebody probably said, no, I have a problem with the groom.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of there as just like a traditional thing.
Yeah.
It's just
In Jewish weddings, right after the ceremony, the bride is considered a bearer of very, very good fortune. So a lot of people would rush right, like not even before she doesn't even have the chance to get off stage, and people would rush to ask the bride to bless them, give them a blessing, like, I bless me for health, bless me for money, bless me for this. And Judaism has a lot to do with wine. We love drinking wine in every kind of religious ceremony.
Right.
And drinking the wine from the glass of wine that the bride drank from is also considered giving you very good luck. So she would get, like, brides would have like a large glass of wine. They would fill it to the brim, and then she would have a little sip, and then everyone would try to just sip a little bit of the wine to
so
get that good
a
look.
hot commodity, like everyone's just
Absolutely.
trying to grab it.
Yeah, absolutely. You see, like,
just like a concert where the guitarist throws out the guitar pick and everyone's trying to grab it.
Absolutely, because if you've ever been to a Jewish wedding, you know that the climax of the Jewish wedding is when the groom breaks a glass, and that is the cue that they are now fully wed, and the ceremony is over. Now so everybody's waiting, and then he lifts his foot and he breaks the glass, and everybody just rushes on stage to congratulate the couple and ask for a blessing for the bride and drink the wine, and it's absolutely, and you can see, like, if you're in a wedding, you see people are like, because if you've been to one or two weddings, you know the exact order of things. People are getting like psyched up. They're getting ready. They're placing themselves in like a good position to rush the stage, and then the glass breaks and all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
But what are Indian weddings like?
It's like, so Indian weddings at least last like for a minimum of 5 to 7 days, like a week, if at least the big ones, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you heard they call it like the big fat Indian wedding. Those usually last like 7 days, sometimes even 10 days, because they have a lot of events that lead up to the wedding, and every day you have a different kind of event, a ritual that you have to perform if you're on the groom side or the bride side. And it's very fun these days because you have, leading up to it, you have many events like for a dancing function or a singing function, and then a lot of superstitious things that they have to do, that the priest advises them that they have to do this for the prosperity of their future. So when it comes to the actual wedding, you have some things like they, at least in the Hindu weddings, they put the group in my caste, they put you're supposed to sit, the groom side is supposed to sit on one side and the bride side is supposed to sit on the other side, and then like you're supposed to have like this formal introduction, like you didn't know each other before, and then you have to drink something sweet, like a sweet juice, and so it means that you're starting off on a good note, having something sweet, and then the actual wedding happens. And you were talking about nobody has to see the bride, but for us, only the groom should not see the bride. So first, the groom goes and he sits on the stage. The priest, he's doing a bunch of rituals, and then they cover his viewing with a cloth, a white cloth. One person is holding it on that end, one person is holding it at this end, if you're the groom, and they bring the bride from that side. So he's not supposed to see the bride until she comes and sits down, and people are holding the cloth for about half an hour. The priest is sitting on that side. He's still chanting and doing all this stuff, and they haven't seen each other yet. And after a certain amount of time, they take the cloth off. So finally, they see each other. Yeah. So there's some interesting things like that. But yeah, I recommend you to watch some YouTube videos. You'll be really surprised. Yeah.
All right. So
it's interesting. At least that's how it happens in my caste. Of course, in Hinduism we have like different castes and. And even the small rituals and traditions vary even from one caste to another, so it's very, very unique.
Well, I mean, it's a huge topic. We can keep this conversation going for forever, but we'll move on to our rapid fire question segment. I will ask each one of you a similar question, and I want to just respond. It doesn't have to do with good luck or superstitions, just to lighten up the atmosphere. Okay. Favorite local beverage? Could be alcoholic, could be non-alcoholic, whatever you feel.
In India, I like the lassi.
Lassi?
Yeah. You might have heard. Here you have like the mango lassi that they add the flavor of the mango. Yeah. But it's a very popular summer drink because it absolutely refreshes you. And it's basically like when you squash like yogurt, you get like a liquid form, and then you can add salt and pepper and stuff like that to make it a little more tasty. And if you put it in the fridge and it's cold, it's very refreshing in the summer in India because the temperatures cross more than 45 sometimes. This summer it was 49 in my city.
Wow.
Yeah, so a lot of people, it's a very refreshing drink. That's one of my favorite drinks, and that's what I order when I go to the Indian restaurants here too. It's called the Lassi.
All right. Favorite local?
Yeah, the national local drink, tea.
Tea?
Yeah.
Specifically, or just any tea?
No, we have like green tea.
Uh-huh.
Okay, it's a must. Everyone drinks tea.
Okay.
On a daily basis, so it's a must. You have to.
You have to. Do you take it with sugar or?
With sugar, and then you might add some herbs like nana. There are so many things that you can add to it to add flavor.
Interesting.
But it's a must. It's
All
a
right.
must. You have to.
Matt?
Yeah. Just very typical, like Diet Pepsi.
Diet Pepsi. Is that local to New York?
No, I mean, it's just, we talk about it like that. Coca-Cola pretty much, dominates, the soft drink industry, and then you have Pepsi behind. But I've always preferred, like, Diet Pepsi more than Coca-Cola. Like, I always thought Coca-Cola was just way too sweet. Right. And even Diet Coke was way too sweet.
In Israel, we have a type of root beer called Bira Nesher. Nesher meaning eagle, like eagle beer, which has, I don't know how it's made, but it has nothing to do with like American root beer. I used to think that there's some like similarities, but it's a completely different type of drink. I don't know, and it's kind of it's sweet. It's supposed to be kind of like healthier than most fizzy drinks. Yeah. And it's made from barley.
Oh, okay.
So that's why.
I see.
Interesting.
All right. Well, we'll finish up. That's pretty much all the time we have today.
Yeah.
And I want to thank these amazing guests and everybody who has been watching. If you have something you want to share with us about superstitions where you come from, we'll love to hear it. And we'd love to see you on the next episode as well. So be sure to follow us and like us and give us some love because we love you too. And one last thing I want to say is I want to thank dizplay SoundLab Studios for hosting us in this wonderful professional studio and our home away from home in Lisbon, Portugal. So if you're ever in the area and you feel like recording yourself, you're recording your trip, this is the place to go. Of course, we'll have the link in the description so all of you can follow. And I'll see you on the next episodes.